So there was some big news this week about the issue of shadow banning and Twitter. Now, I never really heard of shadow banning until probably 6 months ago. So shadow banning is generally making it more difficult for, is a platform like Twitter, Facebook, or social platforms like Twitter, Facebook, I'm trying to think, YouTube, making it more difficult for an individual to find your content or you online. Now that's done a variety of ways. Well, the latest scandal is that Twitter, according to Vice News, who's no friend of conservatives, if you use Twitter, my Twitter handle is @TomFitton, and if you went to the Twitter page and you typed into the Twitter search box Tom Fitton, there is a number of Tom Fittons are generated automatically for you to choose from. Well, guess what? My Twitter handle wasn't among them. And Vice News found that the Twitter handles of the head of the Republican National Committee wasn't among them, and other Republicans. And Vice News did an analysis that found that Democrats weren't caught up in this. So it looks like if anyone was searching for certain conservatives and Republican leaders, they couldn't find them using this particular search function. But they would have been able to find liberals and Democrats. So that's that flavor of shadow ban that Twitter was engaged in. And what's interesting is that a few users had alerted me to this issue. You know, it's unclear about when they were telling me about it, but you know, you kind of pick up on it when you're reviewing your Twitter feeds and your responses and comments and replies to your posts. And I didn't think anything of it because I often attribute failures to find information or tweets to operator errors. So I'm kind of I kind of try to keep it simple there. But then I saw this Vice News story and I thought, oh my gosh, I wonder if I'm caught up in this. So my colleagues and I figured it out, and we were. And I went online and I complained about it, and obviously others complained about it. The president tweeted it out, his concern about it, and Twitter fixed it immediately. Now they've had an explanation about it since then, say that it was a glitch, and I'm just not going to go through and describe the technical excuses they had for why it happened. But it's pretty clear that someone had set up a system at Twitter in a recent software update to make it more likely for conservatives not to show up when their names were searched. You know, I had been tweeted, and this is one of the tweets I'd sent out in response, I've been tweeted out 5 or 6 times by the President of the United States, and I'm banned, however indirectly, by Twitter. I mean, is that a coincidence? And it isn't the first time the President's tweeted me out. I have 300,000 followers. There are a lot of there's some other Tom Fittons on the internet. They obviously, I don't know any of them, but I have a feeling they don't have 300,000 followers. So if you type Tom Fitton's name into a search box, you would think my Twitter handle might pop up in the list of 10 options you get. But it wasn't happening. Now Twitter's fixed it, but it's a further indication, it's further reason why conservatives don't trust these social media platforms. Because this is what I think has happened. I don't know for sure, but this is my guess. They have leftists they've hired to run software, patches, engineers who have an agenda, and that agenda includes suppressing conservatives on these platforms. And these entities need to get on the ball and understand that conservatives are being oppressed online in these social media platforms. The left is very organized, for instance, in complaining about conservative thought, and they've got systems in place. The more complaints you get, for instance, in Twitter, the more likely you are not to show up in certain searches. You can see how that can be easily gained by an organized left. And it's, it goes to their bottom line. I mean, Facebook dropped 20% this week. As we speak today, Twitter dropped, over 15%, I think. And you can bet the market is saying, look, if you don't have the trust of half the American people, you got a market problem, you got a business problem, you got a potential major business problem. So I would encourage, and we're very active on Facebook. Look, these platforms are essential to our mission. We educate the American people through the social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. You're watching me now on one of these platforms. CNN isn't going to run this video. To their credit, these other platforms make views like Judicial Watches available to millions of Americans and worldwide. So we want them to work well. But we're not going to stand by and be bullied and pushed around. And when we feel like we're being suppressed, we're going to call them out. And I'm not satisfied with Twitter's explanations. When you look at the explanation, and you can go online and look it up, you'll see they essentially confirm that conservative voices were likely to be suppressed through the software update they engaged in recently. And look, if we hadn't complained, it wouldn't have been fixed. I didn't know it was happening, for instance, until this news article appeared 2.5 months after it started happening. As best I can tell, it happened early in May. What should be the response? You shouldn't check out. You need to participate on the platforms. I really believe that strongly. You should make your voice heard on all the platforms as best you're able. And when you're being suppressed, you should speak out as well. And someone like me, I have a big social media following, so when I say something, and when Judicial Watch says something, they pay attention. Twitter got back to me and said I'm not being shadow banned. I'm not satisfied with that answer. But I know a lot of you don't have big social followings and you feel like you're being suppressed, and you may be. Certainly based on this Twitter explanation the other day, or last night they had to issue in response to the public firestorm. So it's a major issue. And I think from a business side of things, they don't want to suppress half their user base. So we'll see what happens, but just keep that in mind. And if you like what I'm saying, you like what Judicial Watch is saying, look carefully for us online in case we are being suppressed. Because I don't trust these algorithms to get this material to you, even though you may follow us or support us. So I think that's the lesson here as well. You really need, if you think someone's important to follow online, be sure that you're continuing to get their material and take additional proactive steps to make sure you're doing that. Because it's not going to be suggested to you, I think, by a lot of these social media platforms the way things are going.